All right, guys. So what's up? We are back with another video. We are in a different location. We are somewhere outside doing this podcast. And then I'm with my friend and one of the people who go to my church named Karan.
What's up,
So
guys? How you guys doing?
all right, so we're just basically doing a podcast. So since Karan, since you're like new here, we're just basically just like talk about like whatever. So we're basically just gonna introduce you and then probably about like your how you got into Christianity, and then after that we can just start talking about like wherever that leads.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Let's do
but I would
it.
say first off, I would like to just basically ask like how was your day?
Oh, today has been it's been chill, really, man. Today I pretty much it's been chill. Today I had a quiet time this morning.
Hmm.
It was a bit shorter than I would have liked, so I had that time with God, but then I had to go to work, so I punched in for work, and right after work, I spent time with God again. Just getting another one in. Got some prayer. I actually got to write a poem today as well as a part of that quiet time, which is something I really love doing. Because poetry is like an awesome way to express yourself and to be able to articulate thoughts. And yeah, man. So I did that, and then I got a workout in over at the UREC, yeah, LSU. And that was pretty cool because I did an indoor workout and an outdoor workout. The outdoor one is what killed me because I spent some time running sprints in the sand, so that is always a good one. And I brought some burpees into the workout plan and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's been good though, to say the least.
I would say that basically today I started out with my quiet time, but I basically like changed it up a little. So I basically like went outside. I started basically just admiring what like you like God's creation of like nature.
Yeah.
So I was just like taking pictures of like random things while talking to God at the same time.
Mm.
So I would say that was pretty interesting. But then after that, I went to practice, and yeah, I basically just went to practice. We had weights today, and
Oh
then
yeah.
after weights, we went to go eat, and then we spent some like a few hours in the room. Then I came over here. So
Okay.
yeah, that's about what happened today. But
Sound like a chill day.
I would say basically getting into the, I would say yeah, getting into it. I would just like ask like basically how did you become a Christian, or how did you get become baptized?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for me, it's been a journey. Honestly, I think God has taken me for a ride. When I was young, my grandmother, she's the one who introduced me to the faith. Really, she
Hmm.
was the one who like woke me up those Sunday mornings. It was like, come on, we going to church, you know.
Yeah.
Although I used to be asleep in church, man. When I was very young, I used to fall asleep, but it grew on me. And one of the things that I'm appreciative of is the fact that she took that step of just making me come with her because it definitely helped me understand. Okay, like Jesus is real. Like okay, He's the Savior and all of the basics. But I would say, as I got older, I I learned to pray, and I also went to church like periodically. But as I got older, with life comes, different environments and circumstances. So, you know, um, I had my fair share of incidents in the world where it kind of pushed me towards God. I think some of the main ones that always come to mind is just like, all right, like having parents who were not together and also were in my life at different points in time. So like it was a moment where my dad wasn't in my life, and my mom was, and my mom wasn't in my life, and my dad was, and that kind of created like a yearning for, I guess, family, a yearning for like a parental figure. And so God was definitely that father throughout the whole way. I didn't see it at the time, but also like as I got older, getting into like high school, like middle school too, I started, getting into trouble for different reasons and things like that. But it was in times where I would encounter trouble, I would encounter, life-threatening situations where I would actually see like God's hand. Like being a guy who comes, I'm from Washington D.C. and the inner city, it can be rough. And I spent some time in Maryland as well, and the areas that I grew up in, it's not the best. So there's a lot of violence. There's gun violence, and there's like the street life is present. So I found myself, not really wanting to immerse myself in there, but still kind of being one of the people who found themselves in that environment anyway. So with that being said, it was times when I would, be in certain situations, getting into trouble and stuff, and I would see God's mercy. And this definitely pulled me closer to Him. It pulled me closer to my belief in Him and being saved from situations. Like it was points where I had like gun encounters, or there was times where I could have definitely gotten into like deep trouble with the law, and God, He saved me from all of that. I have no record, so that speaks of His mercy and His glory. And I think reflecting back on that, I see definitely how He was always with me. So high school, like that was kind of what my life was like, but I was also an athlete, and then shortly after, God opened the door for me to be able to go to college, and I would say that's when I was finally on my own, and I had eventually started turning to my faith a lot more because I'm finally out in the real world as like a young adult, and I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to figure it out. So
Yeah.
it was like times where I would turn to prayer, and there was a few opportunities for me to like go to different churches and things, and I think just a series of events just kept leading me closer, and I would say one of the bigger ones that really helped me shift my focus on God was when I lost my best friend. And this was when I was in my associate's program up in New York. And I think me losing one of the closest people to me, who I felt like really understood me and shared a common background with me, I feel like that really um, hurt me. But at the same time, I had to look for that relationship somewhere else, and I found it in God. And so I slowly started seeking Him. I went back home for a bit after my associates, and I found myself down in Florida. And this is where, you know, God opened up another door for me to go to school. But at this point in time, I was looking into like sports to be like my God, or I was looking into relationships to fill that void that I was missing. And I think as God continued to show me that none of these could give me that unfailing love, it's when I really came to a realization of what I needed. And the last thing that God had kind of stripped from under my feet that I was depending on was rugby. I was playing sports down at FIU, and I was on the rugby team there. And once I had ruptured my Achilles, um, I had turned to partying that same night, and I had got like really drunk, and I couldn't even remember getting home that night. But what's awesome about that is the next day I woke up and I felt so empty to the point where I was like, God, I need you, and I had like prayed. And I believe like the same day or day after is when I was met by a true Christian, a disciple, and then the guys, they introduced me to the Bible and really showed me the scriptures. And man, this was around 2021 of November, and that led up to me getting baptized, and I was finally able to see like what the scriptures actually said. I had like grown up around church and everything, but I didn't really know what teachings I was supposed to hold to. I didn't really know what it meant to deny myself of my flesh and all of that. So that was the first time of me coming in contact with like real biblical discipleship, and it changed my life. And that's how I'm here now. Shortly after, I was able to join the mission team to come in and help the church get planted. So it's kind of where I'm at now on this journey. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I definitely feel you, but I would say has like I know that you've talked like a lot about how like sports almost like acted as like your god at the time. But
Mhm.
were there also like times where like you were like in sports where it was more of like a way to like help you seek God, or has it been like that?
I definitely see God working through sports too, because I think sports definitely helped me build a character for when I stepped into my discipleship.
Mhm.
Like there's things you learn in sports like discipline or perseverance and being able to be resilient. Even under maybe even you might have a coach. I love all my coaches out there because y'all pour into us day in and day out. But maybe you might get with a specific coach or get put under a coach that you aren't too fond of, or maybe the way that they coach isn't necessarily something that you are inclined towards. But being in situations like that also helps you learn like humility. You know what I'm saying? Like how to be humble. And that's something that I'm always working on, and that we'll always be working on as Christians. Is humility, trying to reach that humbleness like Jesus. But I definitely see sports as something that helped me, cultivate a character for my discipleship as well. Yeah, that's it.
Because I would say that I know, like for me, for example, I feel like sports have touched both on like helping me and also like used as a way of like idolizing, because I would say throughout my relationship with God has always like changed. So I know how when I was like younger, I would say sports end up helping me get, I would say, helping me lead away from sin in actual reality, because I know that how when I was younger I struggled more with like anger issues, because like a lot of people would do things that I didn't like agree with, and like they were like just like coming after me, so now I resort to anger to solve my problems. And then I would say running is basically what ended up like calming me down, so in like a way it kind of like reduced, I would say almost like helped me like stay away from like anger and stuff.
Yeah.
And but also there have been times where I have like gotten out of relationships, and then I was just like, do you know what? Nothing else matters. I'm just gonna focus on running, and that's the only thing. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, like even being like an athlete, is that I've noticed that, especially at like the college level, it's more, it's a lot of pressure you can put on yourself,
Yeah.
but you honestly have to believe in something and do something outside of sports to, I would say, be sane with the way that you train and everything.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. And I mean, some athletes even speak out on that. I think one of the big um, topics that I'm studying right now is sports and social work, and we talk a lot about that in class actually, and how a lot of athletes, man, like sports can weigh heavy on them, um, and they don't see that as an outlet. That's a way of life for them.
Hmm.
That's what they're kind of used to. So it's like when you're actually in a sport, sometimes it seems like an outlet, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's more like business, or it's like this is what you got to do to get to the next level, whatever. Everyone has a different perspective on how they experience that, but I definitely agree with what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like for me, I would say in like the current place where I am right now, I feel like I would have like a healthy relationship with like running, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a type of person where I've always loved running, but I know many like of my teammates or many people who are running literally for like the scholarship that they're running,
Yeah.
because they've ran ran for this so long, and then like right after they finish and graduating they're just gonna stop running forever. But honestly with me, I couldn't like imagine just like not running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I feel like I'll always like continue to run, but for me to continue to have that mindset, I have to basically keep that the mindset where it isn't everything, but it's still something that I enjoy, but also work hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, especially like this season, I've basically like basically last season I was hurt,
Yeah.
so I was basically watching all these people running all these fast times. So like I need to be running this, or
Yeah.
I go back to like people who I ran with in high school and they're running faster times. So I'm like I now have to run this,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say doing all that honestly adds unnecessary stress that honestly that we as humans don't even need.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
basically just have to focus on basically what I run, and once I stay in there, people tend, I would say people who tend to focus on themselves tend to do better
Right.
by the unnecessary stress.
Yeah. Staying away from comparison. Right.
Right.
That's good. What do you think? What's something great that came out of you having that injury, or like taking some time off? What do you feel like God has taught you throughout that?
I would say that a recurring theme with God and me is patience,
Yeah.
because I would say throughout like our whole relationship, I've basically found out that it's basically like God will have like a certain time, but then I always try to rush the timing.
Mm.
So I'll basically say that this basically taught me that at the end of the day, running can. I mean, I always believed that I was going to get back to running, but
Mm-hmm.
the thing was that it was always possible that that could be like my last time running could have been high school,
Yeah.
and then I would just have to be fine with that just because that's just the way it happened. But honestly, it basically allowed me to build like my videography skills or focus on a different outlet
Oh, yeah.
because yeah, it honestly allowed me to focus on my other aspects of like my creative side of like photography and videography.
Mhm.
So I'd basically still be going to these meets, but instead of running, I would be do basically videoing and taking photos of people who are running, and I would almost get like a similar experience.
Right.
So basically, what I would say it taught me is that running isn't everything, and that I'm if I was to never run again, I would still be valuable because
Exactly.
something that I've always debated with myself when I wasn't as confident as I am is that I'm only valuable for the things I feel like I'm only valuable for when I can give something to someone.
Mm.
So if I wasn't able to give something of value to someone, then I would be inherently useless.
Mm.
But I have to realize that God doesn't view us that way. He views us he as like valuable regardless of what we can produce, and
True.
through His love that we're able to, I would say, bear the fruit that will eventually come.
That's true. That's true, bro. And I think that's an awesome point you bring up there. Um, the aspect of like when we're able to produce, then we feel valued, but if we're not, then we feel like invalued in a way. And
Right.
that's really big, man, because even that can slip into like discipleship, like being a Christian. Because we know, like Jesus, he calls us to, go and make disciples, or to, like you talked about, bear fruit, and it's always up to God's timing when that fruit comes, and then we don't know exactly what fruit we're gonna bear. Like I know, like say for example, like you being able to run good times in track, that
Mhm.
might be bearing the fruit of an apple, but then that's when you taking time down to recover from the injury. Boy, a mango fruit from you being able to work on your videography skills and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it's like the kind of fruit is not really up to us, but and neither is the timing. The timing isn't really up to us either, but it's just like having that confidence and identity in Jesus versus like the outside things. It's really sustainable. So yeah.
But honestly, how did you impact? I mean, yeah, how did you deal with not being able to basically having rugby taken away from you so soon? Were you able to eventually turn to God?
Yeah. So I think God knew the right timing when to take it away, because when He did, I became a disciple. So I don't know how that would have looked if He would have took it away and then He decided to send a disciple in my life like 3 months after that. I don't know.
Mhm.
I think me being able to have my relationship with God to focus on first and foremost, like prior to that injury happening, definitely allowed me to be able to make that transition a lot smoother. And after that, I mean, I was kind of set on, just continuing my walk with Christ and building my life. So I didn't necessarily have like a driving urge to get right back into sports, though it comes at times. I miss sports sometimes. But I feel like once I found a relationship with God, that's what I was always looking for. In essence, I was looking for that fulfillment, that fullness, and God gave me that right at the right time. That's what I would say. So like, once that transition happened for me, playing rugby to not playing rugby or any other sport like football, I think it was okay. I was content with the journey that I had because I saw it as just a part of my life story. So yeah.
But honestly, I would say slightly deviating from sports
Hmm.
and like going into like your early discipleship years, like how would you say like you persevered through like the early temptations that switching from I would say living like a worldly lifestyle to like all of a sudden being like completely different.
Bro, there's a scripture that comes to mind, and we could turn it really quick, and
Hmm.
I'll expound on it really quick. So it's Proverbs 3. Let's say it over there real quick if the wind allows us. So one of the ones I always think of, and I'm grateful God showed me this early on in my discipleship because I kind of like instilled this as a conviction. So Proverbs 3:3 and 4 reads, "Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. And so the reason I share this is because I feel like transitioning from the world to discipleship, the main two things that I was set on focusing on was like love and faith. Like I was like, okay, now like actually following Jesus, which means I need to make sure I'm imitating him, and that's going to require a new level of faith that I've never seen before, right? That's going to require me to have a faith that I never had, and then on top of that, it's going to require me to have a love that I never had before, because I'm coming out of the world where love is seen as circumstantial. It can be based off of what you're able to give. People have their own perception on what love is, right? But now
Right.
I'm stepping into discipleship where I got to learn to love how Jesus loved, and that's no joke, because Jesus, he loved each and every one of his disciples to the end, even the one that betrayed him, Judas. I mean, he knew he was going to betray him, and he still called him a friend. So it was like, man, now I'm stepping out the world where I have a lot of scars, I have trauma, I have things that I'm dealing with, and I'll still have people in my life that I have to deal with, and yet I still have to love them like Jesus. So it's like the main two things I feel like I focused on early on in my discipleship that helped me grow was really just love and faith, just building a deeper love for God and for people, and building a deeper and a stronger faith that could sustain me. That's what I feel like.
Because I would say that right now I'm basically in that process right now, because I would say I was recently like rebaptized in January, so I'm basically living the life as like a new disciple. So I would say things that I've been working on recently is I've been working on, I would say, patience, and I would say like purity in a sense, because I would say that like for me, patience, like I basically said already, yeah, like I already said, is how basically I would try to do things on my time, and then when it isn't my time, then I'm like, then then I basically have to just do it on my own,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically have to trust that whatever Jesus, like whatever like Jesus is or God's time
Yeah.
is, then that's the time, and then something else, like I said, expounding about purity is
Mm-hmm.
how I was just say the way I view people, because I've never really like been, I would say one of my main problems is like viewing people in like an impure way. So I
Yeah.
basically have to like almost like train like my eyes and like train myself to almost like completely not view people like that and view people more in like a loving and I would say wholesome way.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's been getting a lot better. But that's something that I'm currently working on as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a what do I want to say? That's like a place where I think each of us or whoever decides to follow Jesus, we're all gonna come across that point where we're being transformed. Like the Bible literally talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, right?
Mhm.
So that's like you said, it's something that you're training yourself to be more efficient in, like your purity and your love and the way that you view people, which is really good because we'll always be reprogramming ourselves. I love how my brother Zach puts it. He says we need to have an iOS update like how iPhones do. It's like we always need to have an update. We need to be reprogramming our minds the way we think, the way we operate in our faith. And yeah, I'm super excited for you, bro, because I know that God is gonna take you from strength to strength. You're gonna do some amazing things. So yeah, but thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, but also I like to add basically. So you said that. Wait, how long have you been a disciple for?
So it's been 2 years and some change now.
Or so basically, what was the? I would say starting like the new year. What's basically something that you completely like are doing now that's like different from when you first started?
Bro, I am focusing on humility right now. So I think honestly, and this isn't to be like boastful or anything, but I
Mhm.
think I could be even stronger or maybe further ahead in my discipleship had I focused on humility a lot earlier.
Mhm.
Um, pride is one of those things. It's tricky, bro, because it shows up in so many different ways, and you got to find a new way to kill it every time. So I would say this year, a big focus of mine has just been going after like total humility. There's so many scriptures in the Bible that talk about how humility leads to wisdom and humility leads to prosperity, or being closer to God even. Because like pride is the reason that Satan had to get thrown out of heaven, right? Because of pride. And so it's like I think one of the things that I'm really working on is just being more humble and trying to intentionally seek more advice from like the leaders in my church, the brothers that are around me, and also like if there's a correction, like not being so quick to like lash back or to respond, or maybe if there's something that I'm not in the wrong about, but somehow the blame still gets put on me. Just being able to just roll with it, and be like, Amen, because I know God is sovereign and He's able to allow righteousness come forth regardless of what humans do, because God is sovereign. So I feel like humility is a big focus right now for me in my walk.
Yeah, I've had to check myself from time to time, and like God checked me from time to time because there'll be times where like someone would like say something,
Yeah.
and I'll say the thing that usually like gets me all the time is when like you can. I'm usually fine when like people like start just like talking about anything, but when they like come at my character, that's
Yeah.
when I have to like I tend to like respond
It's the
more back.
dagger. Yeah.
But I would say I basically just have to take it as like as just like to basically first off to not go straight to anger, but to try to approach of like why they feel that way or why they think that way, and then that typically
Mm,
allows you to feel in like a more humble and humility way.
yeah. Totally agree. Scripture that has been pivotal for me in this road to humility has been Proverbs 12:16. And it reads, "A fool shows his annoyance at once, but a prudent man overlooks an insult." Right? Because a lot of times when you receive discipline or correction from people, or people point out our character, it could be God, using them, and then sometimes it could be men just being men. But at the same time, it's like, regardless of what it is, like we shouldn't necessarily take that insult to heart, because I mean, think about how many times we've insulted people, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
we've done egregious things to others. So I definitely feel you on that. When people talk about the character, it could be a little sharp, it could be a little dagger. So
Especially with instigating, because I know that like for me, I've been instigating like a whole lot, and
uh-oh.
then I've basically realized that like you can't really do that because that's basically where it's like you're almost like causing like division between people
Yeah.
by that. So I basically have to almost like I'll say that's what I have to like start doing now
Mm.
because I just have to stop trying to cause division because I'd be thinking of it as like a joke, but like some people might actually make that personal. So
Yeah, yeah, bro. Yeah. Especially as disciples, we trying to set the standard. The Bible it also calls us to put away coarse joking. It says coarse joking, meaning like anything that'll be, a little out of line, or if you feel like it's touching the line of being out of pocket, then we should stay away from it. But I mean, I think there's levels to it. I think definitely you wanna try your best not to offend or instigate, but
hmm
still have some humor. That's one of the things as disciples we can still have a lot of fun, but it's knowing the boundaries, right?
hmm
So yeah, I feel you on that.
all right, guys. So that will be the end of the video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you guys feel led to, and we'll see y'all in the next video. So later.
Peace.